the broadcasting. So whilst I wait for our kings and queens to roll in, just going to double check if I'm tagged. If you can see me, if you can hear me, let me know. Let me know. Hopefully I'm coming loud and clear. Let me check. Okay. Am I tagged? I can't see if I'm tagged yet.
You're live. Everybody's live.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're well. Hope you have a fabulous, relaxing weekend. Hope everything's been blessed for your morning so far. A lot been going on in the crypto world, as you can imagine. Do we ever have a dull day? I don't think we do, but hope you guys are feeling good. Just gonna see if this is going to, let me see. All right, my phone's still loading the info up. So I'm gonna get straight into it. So first of all, with IBM, I know you guys have been aware of major corporate companies in this space filing, all these patents they've been filing. It's almost like a massive global blockchain race to see who can stake their ground, like the new frontier, who's going to get there first. So with IBM in particular, it's a major household name. And yes, they have filed another patent, and it's a blockchain for open scientific research. And it's basically to use the technology to aid scientific research and provide an immutable log of research, which I think is a necessity where science is concerned, where facts, empirical research, if we can have, going back with human history, where we put it on pen and paper, we have all these books under heavy security, so important, crucial, and that to have the process, and for that to evolve, we have to look at new ways to store information safely, securely, to pass on to the next generation, and obviously have backup copies, immutable copies worldwide, on a worldwide scale. And that I believe IBM's definitely going on in the right direction with this, and so are other companies looking into this aspect of DLT with blockchain uses. So the idea, as we know with blockchain, to have the one of the advantages of the aspect is the tamper proof, the immutability of it. So you can't change once it's inputted, that cannot be changed. So tamper resistant log of scientific research, and that is critical in this day and age where we are facing massive challenges like climate change, like poverty, so many aspects, especially where health, human health is concerned as well. That's something where I see the medical field, a scientific field, coming together to use the most cutting edge technology to help them have that information at hand, have it verifiable, and it to be tamper proof. So, and the fact that they can track this across borders, there's no need to imagine having to get the permission, as was the case before, of different countries, libraries or technology, or where they've kept critical information. If they could be a process and a globalized system where they can put all that information online and have it accessible to experts as well as normal people, that researchers in particular can track their work without having to deal with bureaucracy, paperwork, and so on, all of those archaic issues, which I think is a good development. And so it will be a comprehensive platform, and the whole idea, it's a holistic approach, a collaborative approach to this, which I think is the only way, in my opinion, the only way to move forward. We have to collaborate. These are global problems, global challenges, therefore we need global mental faculties applied to this, and collective energy to be able to solve some of our critical problems that we face. And so, as you know, IBM does have a history of filing patents. It hasn't just been with blockchain, I have to say, with cryptos. It has been outside it. They have been trying to diversify into different areas. But this in particular is another step forward for them and for different industries that do find using IBM's scale, IBM's knowledge, resources, and understanding and experience in these fields quite important for them, for their survival, for their strategies and how to deal with this new ever-changing world. So I definitely think this is a good thing, without a doubt. And here's the current problem that they face. It's because there's limited platforms that allow for sharing information about scientific research in particular. And another thing is the transparency of the existing data that they have, the collection and the analysis, the steps, the processes. This, like, imagine it's pretty much fragmented. So you have one country where they specialize and they have info there, they have a platform that they created for themselves there, and then you have another one elsewhere, you have another one elsewhere. And these are, they're looking to solve major problems, and then they keep coming across stumbling blocks. There's stumbling blocks in their way, but someone else has the solution, someone else's problem, someone else has the solution to that. So therefore, if we have this approach, holistic approach, we have this global perspective on this, and having the necessary processes and protocols in place to be able to facilitate that in the most efficient way, it not only saves us the hassle and the frustration, and the remember, time is money as well. This does give us savings in unexpected ways. So they may have allocated budget towards R&D, towards scientific research of certain things, engineering research. But if we have the ability to put that information that someone else has already solved and they've been working on, this is saving you time. And this is the logic behind it. This is the rationale, which makes absolute sense. And in this particular field, it's all about efficiencies. It's all about getting to the answers. Whoever finds the answers, it doesn't matter in this, in where we are as in the greater scheme of things. We just want the problems resolved. Obviously, some people would disagree because they want that, and I agree to some respect that if you came up with the idea, if you came up with the solution, it should be patented. You should get the credit for it. You should get the recognition for it, and you can still do that. But with this, having it on the blockchain, having it transparent, and having these data available to the experts that are well placed and well resourced to be able to resolve the most critical problems and challenges we face overall, for the greater good. I completely understand with how with all the basically, we're running out of time. We have all these challenges, and because we have left it so late in the game, we don't have the luxury anymore of um, having to choose it our way. But this is why this, you know, these problems that they're facing is quite important, and like they're moving with a sense of urgency, which is the right thing to do. Here's how what I feel though: if it's affecting the African American community or Africa and the diaspora in particular, I would personally, and I think a lot of people would agree with me, because of the history we have of colonial theft, wholesale colonial theft, and you know, appropriation, misappropriation of our ideas, our creativity, our resources. So with the physical and the tangible and intangible, there's a very long history of us not getting the credit and not even having the opportunities to patent our ideas. And even if they do, and other people are stealing them, the problem is with it being enforceable, and that obviously hasn't been. And in fact, some may have been complicit with that too, departments, government, society, and we as a community worldwide, we have so much catching up to do. So when a massive company like IBM regarding scientific research, when they come out with this, and they're doing it obviously for not only their interests, they can see the benefit of sharing this on a worldwide basis to be able to facilitate progress. I see the merits in that. However, I do feel as well, where anything scientific research or any type of development or progress is concerned, we should, in my opinion, I feel like we should have it patented, or any ideas that we have, and any that was previously stolen or previously misappropriated, we should get rewarded. We should get compensated for that. We should, moving forward, find ways to be able to have all of our information, all of our ideas on the blockchain, but with extra security measures and extra, I would say, certain things in place, certain features in place, so we don't have to go through that again, where we've been misappropriated and having our ideas stolen. If we can have ours, it's it's an undertaking of massive proportions, but I still have hope and I still have faith and belief that we will come together at some point. It may not take all, it just has to be a group of dedicated individuals coming together worldwide and having our particular ideas and solutions be not only protected, but be available for the diaspora worldwide, so we can all collaborate together. So we have a unique set of challenges within our community. So you have human society worldwide, but then you also have us as well. We have unique challenges because of the unique histories that we've faced, and collectively I feel that we can, and blockchain technology will be one of those solutions, but I actually see beyond that. And this, I can see how many individuals would be inspired, even individuals that are not born yet will, some of the solutions that we haven't come across yet is because it hasn't been created yet, because those people haven't been born yet. Some of our solutions, we may not even be alive when we see them, but it is a journey. It is a process, and it will take time, as we are dealing with human beings here. It will literally take decades, generations, centuries to rectify, to even, we may not get there 90%, 100%, but we are definitely, from what I'm seeing, we're progressing over time with the help of technology. So with this being said, it is in it's in the latest, as I said, of large number of blockchain patents. that they have been filing recently. They do mention that is to democratize the technology, you encourage the use of it as well, and to get more adoption up in the space. And this is beyond finance, and also obviously they want to they're moving in such a way that they want to mark themselves as a blockchain leader, as a pioneer, instead of waiting for their competitors, waiting for others to make the move. They don't want to get left behind. But they see how the Apples of this world, the Microsoft of this world, all Amazons of these worlds, Facebook of these worlds, they don't get to where they are just sitting and waiting and being reactive. You have to be proactive in the space, as a business, as a community, as an organization, because essentially those businesses are made of people, with many experiences, many perspectives, insights, vast knowledge, but the strategies, their mindset, and how they think about their survival, beyond the next 5 years, beyond 10 years, 20 years. Those companies that think long term there tends to be a correlation with the ones that been are largely successful. They tend to be more proactive. They tend to have ideas, and they tend to collaborate. They tend to have ideas that they expand upon. Then they're not just satisfied with whatever they come out. They constantly try and improve what they have, as well as come out with new things. So it's this culture that they breed, the ethos, a collective ethos that the companies and the organizations try and foster, and to be more inspirational. And those companies that don't do that, they tend to get left behind. The companies that don't reward innovation, they tend to get left behind. So it's very clear in how you see with the markets. And this is why essentially the core of this is, with IBM demonstrating it very well, and other companies, not just coming into blockchain, but with technology advances overall. They want to essentially solve problems and create value in doing that, essentially solving problems. That's really what it comes down to. And then finding ways to monetize that. The easier you make the case to your consumers, your clients, your stakeholders, shareholders, that they have a benefit, they can see themselves in this. They have this is how is going to benefit you. This is where you can be if you do this. Really, in their marketing is where they do a lot of the vision and the painting picture of the kind of life they would have. But it's also, proven not just the pretty dreams and the pretty pictures, but really in real world, showing them here's the goods, here's the you have to deliver, you have to perform. So I commend IBM for doing that, and many companies coming into the blockchain space to find it's not just essentially about blockchain, but it's the ideas that it inspires. It's like, okay, if this can be done, what else can be done? Is that open mindset attitude that it breeds. And everything's connected. Once you have this, then there's this, and you realize this could be improved. You could do this here, and before you know it, you're in a better space. Especially if you're comparing yourself to in business with your competitors. There's clearly reasons why certain businesses do better than others. It's very clear to see that they have certain. It's not just the numbers. It's not money. Financially speaking, in fact, the money comes, their profits, their margins, essentially comes from not just the efficiencies that they have, but really some of their thought processes, the ideas that they have, and in their decision making processes. Some are more, they are more, businesses are the ones that are likelier to take more of them, more risks, and have more imagination and creativity. Those tend to get, by and large, rewarded, especially in the technology space. Of course, there's a lot of failure. There's a lot of disappointments, frustration, as is with any process in life, but in particular with technology. Failing forward is definitely an ethos, failing over and over again, because they tend to see that approach as you're learning, you're learning how to not do things, but in a way you're gaining wisdom and perspective. There's less fear in the tech sector rather than other areas. And that's pretty much where we are right now in this age, in this era. A lot of individuals decided to fail because they failed so many times. We have we have computers, we have mobile phones, we have refrigerators, we have the ability to fly, we have if you take a look around you, any time of the day, just if you think of it in that perspective, it's extremely powerful that someone had to fail several times over for me to enjoy this this thing that I'm, having, creating, and going through. And you really have to, that's how I start to see things. I see in all of the developments that's happening, the momentum. I'm seeing the mindsets that are being opened up to thinking. And so it's not just about IBM, it's not just about blockchain, it's really to do with what's happening beyond that field. It's just it is another step in helping increase adoption in this space. It is certainly, other businesses are watching not only what IBM are doing, but others as well. And they're also, like, it seems to me like they do follow because of the examples that major companies like IBM do take. They do also get inspired, or if they're like inspired for if it's either inspiration or it's fear. And there's this general wisdom that people are more motivated by fear than faith. So it could be that too. They don't want to be left behind. So yeah, it's definitely quite an important development, and I say that because of the scientific aspect of that. So if this is going to help the environment, is going to help human beings, is going to help scientific progress to happen, even if the mindset of human beings, if we're still battling the age-old problems, at least science and technology is still moving forward, and in some way, shape, or form, because of their interconnectedness of our world today, we do find that there's a lot more transparency, there's a lot more accountability than 50 years ago, than 100 years ago, than 400 years ago. We are at a place where we can look back, and a lot of the information that we have is now digitalized. So we literally have info and data at our fingertips, whereas our ancestors beforehand, they didn't have that luxury and opportunity. So again, I see the blessings in this. I see the advantages, the efficiencies, the savings. I see it like, when you see the Matrix, you start seeing, if you're Neo, you see you see how the system really works. You can stop the bullets and so on. It's like when you delve your mind into learning different things, you start seeing another world. Like, you can literally, like, okay, now you know this, now you know that. Your confidence grows too. So what was I going to say? So yeah, I believe last time I checked, I think it was Alibaba that beat them to the number of patent files, blockchain patent filed. But now I think they're the ones at the top now. I think they've been extremely prolific with IBM, that is. So yeah, with that said, Aking, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I'm getting some charts pulled up right now, but I'm with you. I totally agree.
Mm. Okay, so also having said that, do you mind if I continue, or do you want to start the charts now?
No, no, you go ahead. Go ahead, finish up.
Okay, so also having said that, with IBM is with another company on that scale, Accenture. Accenture's always also, Accenture is because the words are so similar. Accenture's also getting involved. They're a global professional services giant, and they've started getting their software license management application put out on the blockchain. They're working with a startup called Digital Asset. Now, what's incredibly important with this is that just to clarify this a bit, actually, software licenses. So if you have, we know about tracking goods, right? We know about how in supply chain management, blockchain is so important. But also with digital assets, with digital services, blockchain definitely has its uses too. And the whole point is to simplify how the software licenses are tracked. Traceability. We talked about traceability as a key component before. This was months ago, as well as recently. When I say months ago, I'm talking about Origin Trail when we did that presentation. And also with recently, we spoke about Walmart, we spoke about Carrefour, and other companies, also FedEx, being able to track their parcels, track vegetables with Walmart, for example, Carrefour with their produce and goods and so on. Excuse me. So that's another aspect as well with software licenses, that they also have problems. You would think that it's a simple procedure. Actually, it has, to their credit, it has been getting better, their processes, but they also have issues. And it's it's to do with trying to develop trying to develop a solution for to support their policies and procedures. That's another issue that they've been having. Um, and they have a massive portfolio of software license across different businesses and clients that they have internationally. So they've been trying to come up with something that can make their process even better. And with this collaboration with the software asset tracking and with the management tools that they have, they still need to make it better. So they even said themselves that even for a large company as us, it's still difficult to manage because there's like moving pieces. They're still needing to make it quicker, make it easier, and they're open to solutions for that. So it's going to help Accenture improve the management lifecycle of its software assets, and it does this by simplifying the tracking and auditing, and you know the fact that they can because their existing issue that they had with traceability. With the blockchain, it will simplify it for them, make it easier, more transparent. And the key to this is the auditing function aspect of it as well. So everyone can, all the people involved can see where each license is assigned. That's going to save time, and it will save them millions of dollars per year in the management of their software license portfolios as well, because these are people dealing with it. That takes time and money. So the fact that they're going to have this, the patent is still pending, but they have filed it. That's the key development. And it will allow organizations to reduce the risk of using unlicensed software, or even being in danger of not complying, like the failure to comply with a license use terms, which, you know, a lot of people you know, they may admit it or not, but they may not, you know, I don't know if you guys read your terms and conditions. I've been guilty. I'll put my hand up. I've been guilty in the past of not reading terms and conditions and realizing that I've given away so much of my, you know, you know, especially with apps, you can see that they have access to your storage, access to your contacts, access to this, access to that. Now, in some instances, that may be okay, but if you feel this particular information is like you don't have super sensitive information, by all means you can be happy to allow permission to that. But some apps don't make complete sense, like why they need access to this when all they're supposed to be designed for is this. So now with, you know, the scandals with Cambridge Analytica, with Facebook, with so many stories that come out about the challenges we have preserving our privacy and preserving security, and making sure that our data is not stolen and not in the wrong hands and be exploited. And because they do this, the information that gets taken from us, most likely it tend to get sold in the black market, in the dark web. So we have to be very vigilant at all times, and so making sure we're compliant. I mean, with Accenture in particular, it's they want to make sure that they comply with their license use terms. And I can see how also with us, because this just reminds me, generally speaking, is that license use terms, you know, whenever we, let me give you an example, like Spotify or iTunes or any number of software where you download and you have the use terms, whether it's free or you paid for it, there's always terms and conditions to read. It's good to save them if you really want to read them word for word at one particular day, or skim read it, or employ someone else, hire someone else for an hour and let them read it or something. And it sounds really, really obsessive, really something like compulsive behavior problem, but actually, and there's this movement, having said that, there's this movement where people are demanding that the use terms are in clear English. They're not filled with jargon or terms that are going to confuse the average, you know, the layman. They want it in layman's terms. So this is another way that blockchain can help, and to help having processes where they can comply with license use terms, and that's really important as well. And again, with this as well, it does help them with better transparency regarding distribution and the uses of these license. And as I mentioned, they can help get a lot more efficiencies as well out of this, and not just beyond financial aspect of it, but on the operational in different areas of it too. So that's with Accenture. So again, this doesn't surprise me that there's more developments, there's more patents coming out, and you start looking at, it's not just the big companies in particular, but also smaller ones, less well-known ones that are seen a real benefit to their day-to-day operational costs as well. They're getting involved as well, but they're not heavily reported. The ones that make the headlines tend to be the bigger ones. So that's on that side, or with the Accenture. And I also wanted to mention this also, this news came out last Wednesday, but this is really important actually, because we're seeing developments all over the place. We've seen what happened with the Khashoggi case, with the murder journalist as well, and with Saudi Arabia. Their reputation has taken a huge hit regarding that case. And it's interesting to see how, you know, countries like the UK, France, Germany have come out to condemn that. And I think France has said that they're going to not have any more arms contracts. And the UK won't go that far to cancel arms contract, but I know Germany, UK, and France are. In fact, just recently, the Turkish government did release audio tapes to the US and these three countries as well that I mentioned in Europe. And to Saudi Arabia. And here's the thing with oil, and I'm going to get to the point I was going to make, but with oil to be used as a weapon, as a potential backlash to any sanctions or restrictions that the Western governments make on countries like Saudi Arabia or Iran or Venezuela, whether it's like individual cases, horrific cases like, attempting to suppress freedom of speech with Khashoggi, and this history of silence and dissidence, and not just in Saudi Arabia but worldwide as well. Even in the US, it may not be widely reported, but don't think for a split second that the US and the UK are not putting hit jobs on certain people as well. All governments are to some respect, they are trying to suppress threats, and it depends how how you perceive what is a threat, right? And with different governments and because they have different systems, whether it's more democratic or not, their hands are not clean too. So how Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and Iran, even Russia, how they react to these geopolitical movements, actions being taken by Western nations, is really interesting to see. And where digital currency is concerned, where the blockchain is concerned, cryptocurrencies is concerned, this will be an interesting thing to watch. Will we see Saudi Arabia perhaps take a backlash and have some sort of and will they use oil to do that? We shall see. Will they try and reduce the reliance on the US dollar, or sell off US debt, or less cooperation with US companies? We don't know what will happen. It all depends what the US and the European countries do as a result of the ongoing investigation in the Khashoggi case. But the reason why I mention that is because Venezuela, because we know Saudi Arabia helps to formulate the policy with OPEC, but Venezuela is going to present the petro as the digital currency for oil at OPEC next year in 2019. And this is for global crude oil trading, but also they're using it for other aspects as well, domestically, which I'll get into. But Venezuela's plans is that the world's oil markets will start using the petro as a way to trade with it, as a unit account for global crude oil trading. And I know the US definitely has something to say with that. They have been saying the petro is illegal from the start. They've placed sanctions already against Venezuela for numerous reasons, but it's something that Manuel Quevedo, I think his name is, the country's minister for petroleum, has said, and he announced it in a tweet of all places. So he's going to introduce this to the OPEC group of countries. There's about 15 of them. And they come up with policies together for the world's main oil exporters. And that what I was going to say is that it would be interesting to see, because if the US dollar is being threatened, as it as it's been traditionally used to settle these contracts. But if they start using digital currencies, whether it's the petro or another alternative, maybe Saudi Arabia would come up with its own alternative. You know, maybe each country, you know, maybe they think, okay, we can have one cryptocurrency or one digital currency that will represent all of the interests of the main oil exporting countries, the OPEC members. If they do ever get to that stage, that is going to be interesting to see how the US, Europe, and other major nations will react to that. And it depends what they have on them. This is why it's such a complex layered thing. It's oil, as we know, is highly political. It's politically sensitive matter. So you know, with the idea of it, just introducing the idea to the OPEC group, I'm sure the US they're gonna have some sort of strategy to counteract that. Because if something like that was to be adopted, they'd probably be the ones to come out with it and lead it somehow. But yeah, they want to present it to them, and they want the petro to be used worldwide, and to use it as a, you know, measure of a current unit of account. So yeah, it's and it will start doing this from early next year, first quarter of next year, to market its oil. And here's the thing I found interesting is that they think, and this is their words, they think it will guarantee growth and prosperity. The word guarantee. It will improve the country's economy. Now, we know with Venezuela has been suffering hyperinflation. The government has been challenged so many times. I think there were assassination attempts, and the population has been suffering so heavily with this dictatorship, with this regime. And so what it's now asking is companies that are interested dealing with Venezuelan oil products. They've asked them to sign up and join with the Petro, and they do already have a platform. It's invited airlines and shipping companies to have digital wallets to be able to send and receive the Petro currency. And it's also doing some, if you remember, this was back in February that they had a pre-sale, and now I think end of last month, they started allowing people to use it, and they've been asking their citizens to invest in the petro and gold, and because the bolivar is just absolutely worthless. People are making bags from the notes, and you know, you see the money laying around now, just it's hardly worth anything, or at least, you know, they're taking barrel loads, bags full of money just to be able to afford bread. So most people are just turning to Bitcoin, turning to other cryptos, and now the petro to survive. And so that was the end of that was the end of October. They started allowing them, and also their salaries and pricing systems will be tied to the petro as well, and international commercial transactions as well will have to be done in petro. So that is interesting to see that if they decide that they're doing it out of necessity, moving into having their own digital currency, but it will, where oil, if it's backed by resources such as oil and it's politically as sensitive as oil, it will be interesting to see the idea, what other countries, OPEC countries will say about this, and whether they're now going to have a strategy and incentive to create their own digital currencies for themselves, or whether they'll just join up with the petro, further legitimizing the idea for Venezuela. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that is. And I think that, I mean, I've been seeing this as a trend worldwide anyway, with Iran coming out with their own crypto. Russia and other countries that are facing sanctions, facing all sorts of challenges. They're looking to see how they can circumvent these and to sort of the leash that they feel that they have around their neck from Western countries and economies. It'll be interesting to see how they're going to try and break out of that, whether it's crypto that will allow them to do that or some other technology. It's interesting to see how they're going to think, and I think that's what we will continue to see. That, in my opinion, we're going to see a lot of these countries looking for alternatives, even if they're not dictatorship. I still see that there's a vast number of evidence showing that different countries, for different problems unique to them, they're looking into this level, the technology and the ideas that are presented to them to be able to counteract some of the, not just to save money and time, but also the influence other countries have upon them, the level of oppression that they face. In terms of trade policies, in terms of sanctions, in terms of debt obligations, they're going to see if there's a solution, another way out of the status quo. So yeah, I'm not surprised, frankly, that Venezuela is doing this, but it was only a matter of time anyway that someone was going to challenge US supremacy where the global banking system is concerned, and also the economic policy surrounding oil, which is so politically sensitive. And we're going to see how this is why even Trump had to admit that we've seen this with the Khashoggi case as well, that they're not happy with the explanations given. However, he also mentioned that they have a very close relationship with the Saudi Arabia, with that they're very close ally, helping them to combat terrorism in the Middle East and so on and worldwide, and they see them as a strategic partner, and so there's a lot of complexity, there's a lot of back scratching, there's a lot of IOUs on both sides. There's this mutual complicity and mutual understanding and mutual interests that they cannot easily walk away, even if they wanted to, without addressing their own hypocrisy or their own problems first. So it's just going to be interesting how this is going to play out. So keep your eyes tuned to this. And I also noticed that, I think, what was it? There was actually some skepticism regarding this from journalists and experts and economists about Venezuela's petro as well. Concerns that it may not actually be backed by the oil, and that there has hardly been any trading done yet on that. And the PDVSA, which reportedly backs the petro, has $45 million in debt. And so that, some of the, accusations have been that this petro coin is a smoke curtain to hide the fact that the Maduro is going through all sorts of issues and problems, and they're looking at this as something of a scam, basically. So yeah, we have to see where this goes. I think, I mean, certainly not just Venezuela and Iran, but I do see other countries for their own reasons looking to experiment and work to see if they could find, if this, having a digital version, having crypto specifically for something as oil or for national currency or work alongside a national currency is going to be feasible for them. So yeah, what are your thoughts, Aking?
Man, I can't even comment on that. I'm all technical. I'll leave all the fundamentals up to you.
Okay, no worries. And yeah, what's happening with the charts, and specifically what's happening with Stellar, because there's been a lot of news around Stellar. Um, there's also you may have heard, guys, a week ago, blockchain and Stellar coming together to do an airdrop. I think it's $125 million worth, and there's also been other news affecting Stellar, potentially rumors that it could be accepted on the Coinbase Pro and Coinbase.com, be one of the next ones to be approved, because it is under review at the moment. So yeah, there's a lot of things happening. So let us know what's happening with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Stellar, and other coins you feel of interest.
All right, let me share my screen just 1 second.
Okay. Yep, I can see it now.
All right, so here's Stellar. You know, Stellar has been going on a buy. Obviously, there's a lot of, like how you explain, a lot of hype and anticipation. But for the most part, the market has pretty much been the same place. When you look at Bitcoin, for instance, not too much has really happened with Bitcoin. If you take a look on the weekly or the monthly chart, this is Bitcoin on the weekly chart. You can see we really haven't gone anywhere for the last couple of weeks. We're still in this little range right here, and we can be in this range for a while. At some point, we have to break out. I still think it's more favorable that it breaks out towards the downside, but we've been in this range for a while, still making lower highs, so really haven't been doing anything. But the portion or the coin of interest is Ripple. Ripple's been pretty interesting lately, since this morning. We noticed with the Ripple, it kind of broke out of this little pattern over here, where we noticed we had a little symmetrical triangle where we had higher lows and lower highs. We actually broke out towards the upside, so that was pretty interesting. So the Ripple, I'm actually thinking that we're going to see a continuation move, actually move up towards the upside. So right now we broke up. There's a little bit of profit taking. We can bounce down in the 52-cent range. That's what I'm thinking. And then Ripple moving back up to a higher price. But I think Ripple's on its way back up to at least 58 cents. That's where I think Ripple is going until it sells down again. The only thing about Ripple on the 4-hour time frame that I don't like is that we had a little bit of an overbought condition here, and we're making our way back up. So that's the only thing that I would say as caution as Ripple. But we broke out of this pattern, and I think in this pattern at least we should have a 5% move. What's this? That's actually about 5%. Yeah, so I mean, I'm thinking that breaking out of this pattern. Let me see from the top. Yeah, I think 5 to 10%. I mean, we had a 5% move here. Where is up here? Where can we go? Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. I mean, even we retest the most recent highs of around 56 cents. I think that's pretty reasonable even. But I think Ripple has a real potential as far as coins being bullish to retesting this 58 cents to even 68 cents range. So that'd be pretty interesting for Ripple. But outside of that, there's always, I spoke about ENJBTC in a prior video that I did. I saw potential breaking out. It did break out, went up about 5-10%, and then it fell back down. So the whole thing is there's coins that are doing well. We spoke about XLM. Stellar. Ooh, excuse me. We spoke about Stellar, and Stellar did really, really well. So there's coins that will obviously buck the system, buck the trend, but the overall trend for me is still down. So it's a little risky on certain one of these coins. If these coins are under certain rumors, like you said, Stellar is looking to possibly get listed on Coinbase, then it could be really profitable for someone. But overall, it's still just really, really risky until Bitcoin decides to make a move. And right now, that move hasn't happened. So playing everything short may work out really, really well until uh, Bitcoin actually decides to make a move. And I think that move is going to happen. It has to happen soon. It can go sideways for a little bit longer. Even for another month, it can go sideways. But I think that move is happening soon on Bitcoin. I still think it's more likely to happen towards the downside. So, down to 3K, 4K would be pretty healthy for it. I was watching this video the other day. This guy, he was like, Bitcoin can never go below 6K because if it was going to go below 6K, it would have already, which I thought it was a pretty silly argument because that's how patterns are actually formed, especially on new emerging technologies and spaces like this, where we have this descending triangle right here. That's support the 6K. And then we have this slope. I'm just going to throw it on real quick. I know whoever's watching has probably seen this a million times. So we have the slope right here. So basically, that is the nature of these patterns. So just because it hasn't broke 6K in these previous attempts doesn't mean that it won't. In fact, every time that it comes back to 6K, 6K gets weaker. It doesn't get stronger. And that's what people fail to understand. Every time price comes back to 6K, 6K actually gets weaker, not stronger. So if we come back to 6K again, it's going to be even weaker. If we bounce from it and come back to it again, it's going to get even weaker. So every time we get back to 6K, it gets weaker, not stronger. That's something just keep in mind. And then we'll see what happens. So Bitcoin is really on the clock. It's hard for me to get bullish on anything until Bitcoin and Ethereum is bullish. Just, playing it safe. So, I mean, there's plays where you can catch and do well. But I really would love to see Bitcoin make a move. So it would give me some confluence on other stuff. But honestly, not too much is to be seen right now, technically on the charts. Bitcoin is still literally in the same place. What I'm going to start doing is having some more altcoins charted up. So this way we could take a look at some more altcoins that may be under news. So we can have something to talk about. But right now, Bitcoin, unfortunately, isn't really doing anything. Ethereum is in pretty much the same spot as well. I see Ethereum right here in this something like an ascending wedge. Like we're having lower highs, higher lows, but this is still a bearish pattern to me. I still think this is bearish. So what I think Ethereum is most likely to do is something like this. We ping pong to the top, ping pong to the bottom, ping pong to the top, ping pong to the bottom, ping pong to the top, and then come all the way down. So I still think Ethereum is going to drop. But I mean, we don't know. I don't know that until it happens, until it happens. So if Ethereum breaks down out of here and closes, especially if it closes below $193 on the weekly, that's right here. So if Ethereum closes below here on the weekly chart, below that line, then I'm definitely long-term bearish on Ethereum. Probably until we get down to about, I would say, let me move this up where I can't really see my chart. I'll be long-term bearish on Ethereum probably until we get down to about $100. And then if that doesn't hold, then $50. So yeah, so Ethereum's on the clock. If Ethereum breaks above this level right here on the weekly and closes above here, then I'm long-term bullish on Ethereum. If Ethereum breaks above 250, let's just call it 250, then I'm long-term bullish on Ethereum to at least 350, 360. So yeah, I like Ethereum's technicals a little bit more than I like Bitcoin, to be honest. So if we break below, for everyone's watching, if we break below 190 and we close on weekly below 190 on Ethereum, I'm long-term bearish. we break above 250 on Ethereum, I'm long-term bullish. So right now Ethereum is at 212, 213. So somebody's response would be, oh my God, but it's 213. If you wait above 250, you're giving up all this money opportunity. Yeah, that's true. There's no ands or ifs about it. It's true. But I just need some type of directional bias confirmation. And I won't receive that directional bias confirmation if we're going bullish until we're at least above 250. So anything below 250, I'll just have to miss out on. What else? But as of yet, Ethereum has done nothing but tell me that it's bearish. So I just don't see why I should go against the trend, against the structure until it shows me differently.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's all I got.
Okay. Excellent. Well, that's it for today. We're out of time, but definitely keep your eye out on the developments happening around Zcash, Stellar, Cardano, because there is a lot of anticipation surrounding them, with them being under review regarding Coinbase listing Coinbase Pro and then Coinbase.com. So, in fact, you may have noticed that on the charts too, Aking, regarding Zcash and Cardano. But yeah, definitely not financial advice, guys, but definitely keep aware of that. So that's it for today. Thank you guys for joining us. Any final words, Aking?
Peace, love, enjoy yourself.
Have a beautiful week, guys.
Speak to a
Cheers.
black person, smile at a black person, give a black person a compliment.
Yeah, definitely. Likewise.